man after my own heart from the hip hop scene.
Be like Muhammad.
He is an author of his own poetry book. Okay? He is none other
Baraka
than
my brother,
the famous, the amazing Baraka Blue.
What's your real name then?
My name is Ahmed James.
Yeah. Baraka Blue sounds a little bit cooler.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Ahmed James sounds cool too, right? Baraka Blue is cool. It has a good ring.
It's a good stage.
It is a good stage.
Right now you live in Oakland, California, right? But you actually grew up in Seattle, Washington.
That's right.
Okay, so what was it like there?
Seattle is a very cool city. It's called the City of the Rain. It has the most rain of any city in America. And it rains like 200 days a year or something like that. Because of that, well, I think that's one of the main reasons. You have a lot of artists and musicians in Seattle because everybody's scooped up inside. So like, well, I better do something. Let's create. It also has a thriving kind of, it has always had a very thriving kind of art, culture, music, right? You have Nirvana, you have Pearl Jam, you have Jimi Hendrix, you have Quincy Jones. All these really phenomenal musicians coming out of Seattle as a city. And it's a very liberal West Coast city. You have a very kind of organic movement, you know, those type of things.
But where did your hip hop, particularly your hip hop art skill, where did that come from?
I grew up basically in the 90s. That was kind of my coming of age. And so if you grew up in America, urban, in the city, in the 90s, hip hop was the world. You know, I grew up in a very kind of multicultural, diverse environment. And so that's just what was going on. The older kids at school, they were, you know, breakdancing and they were like getting their initials carved in their head. You know what I mean? And like my best friend, his older brother was having the, you know, NWA and the Warren G and the Bone Thugs and Harmony tapes before CDs and all that. So that was just, you know, it wasn't really a conscious choice. It was just what was going on. I guess if I would have grown up 10 years earlier, then maybe 7 years earlier in Seattle, it would have been grunge.
Yeah.
You know, because that whole movement comes out of Seattle. But by the time I was coming up, it was hip hop. So it wasn't really a conscious decision. It was just what was cool. You know.
How do you relate hip hop and Islam?
My exposure to Islam was through hip hop. So they're very linked in my consciousness. And, you know, again, because what you have is hip hop forming, you know, especially kind of in the 80s, taking shape after the whole Black nationalism manifestation of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, Black Panthers, and all these things. So, you know, the early hip hoppers are really taking someone like Malcolm X as the kind of patron saint of hip hop. So if you listen to a lot of old records, you know, the early hip hop records, they sample Malcolm's speeches over the beat, right? And these type of things. So, and you look at Public Enemy music videos, they have, you know, Malcolm on the banners and X hats and all that stuff. So, you know, there was this idea, and all these rappers, again, like the Nation of Islam and the, you know, the 5%ers, they may have some kind of strange theological views as far as what is traditionally considered Orthodox Islam, but nonetheless, they're identifying as Muslim, they're talking about Allah, they're talking about Islam, they're mentioning all these Arabic words, all these things. So that was just, I mean, again, like the first time I remember hearing the word Allah was in a Wu-Tang song. Everybody that I know had a very deep, profound respect for Islam because of hip hop. You see what I'm saying? Because it was seen as this noble, true, and, you know, it was about knowledge, and it was about dignity, and it was about self-respect, and it was about justice and equality.
Just a generic question, I guess. Your ultimate favorite rapper and why?
My favorite rapper?
Yeah, and why?
My favorite rapper is named Micah 9. He's from a group out of LA called the Freestyle Fellowship, where they're kind of underground. They're somewhat obscure. People don't generally know about them. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
But shall we just end it with a piece of advice for up-and-coming artists in the scene in Malaysia?
MashaAllah. And as far as advice for artists, it's really what I said just at the last question, is that, you know, Allah gave you a fingerprint that is unique. Allah gave you a ruh that is unique. Allah gave each one of us a voice that is unique, a tongue that is unique, an expression that is unique, a way of seeing reality that is unique. And this is the greatest blessing that we have given, and this is why forgetting Allah and going away from the path is such a tragedy, because Allah gave you something so precious, more precious than anything in the universe, and that is your ruh. And that's why those who have sullied it have truly been destroyed, and those who have purified it have gained